been a heck of a month. I want to thank you up front for being so attentive and giving us your time away from home, away from your families, away from work. We appreciate that. The way it works today is I've got a few things to say. The defense will have a few things to say, and then I will finish, and you will get the charge of the court that the judge just read you. I'm not going to go through all the evidence in the case. I don't have enough time. The judge gives me an hour, and then I get the hook, so to speak. But I do think there are some things that are important. And this is the number one thing that I think is most important right here. This is what's most important. This is why we're here. This picture sat in my office for months. And I looked at it every day. And it's a reminder on those days, why do I get up again? Why do I keep doing this? And this picture was taken, she didn't know she only had 4 days left to live when that picture was taken. When that picture was taken, I didn't know that 6 days after that, I'd be talking to my sheriff, and you heard from him, a former Texas Ranger, a fairly grizzled veteran of law enforcement, that I'd be sitting there with him and not a dry eye between us. I knew then that I would be here in front of you. But why are we here? We're here for her. We're here for her memory, her voice, a little bow on her head, smile on her face, love in her heart. That's why we're here. She can't seek justice. We're here for her. When you all got qualified and we went through the whole process, we talked about a lot of things. And one of the things that I think we talked about is the death penalty. And a lot of people are reluctant on that, and we should be. And it should be used in only the most extreme cases. Now, those cases, intentional, cold-blooded, planning, or premeditation, victims that can't help themselves, children. Cases where the victim is sexually assaulted prior to their death. Cases where there's no mercy shown to the victim. Cases like this. This is what, and the reason why that Texas keeps the death penalty here. This is why. This is the type of case. And I'm going to tell you, Tanner Horner is proof why parents hug their children a little tighter. He's proof of why children are nervous to go play outside. He's proof of why there is evil in society and we can never turn our back. Now, 2015, May 23rd, Athena, she was born. 18 days from today, she turned 11. 18 days. If you remember on opening, we talked a lot about past tense. And I'm not even trying with the glasses anymore because my eyes are smoked after this trial. We talked a lot about would. We talked about past tense. And I think it's important. We've heard a lot about people's past, but I think it's important to talk about what would have been. You know, when we talk about Athena, I feel like we want to talk about when she would have graduated. She would have been a Paradise Panther, class of 2033. She would have celebrated her birthday party in 18 days. And I can promise you there would have been an overload of pink. That's all would. Okay. The other questions we look at is the future. We look at, when you look at it, you ask yourself, You know, who would she marry? Who would be her first boyfriend? Real boyfriend. You know, some things that I thought about is what kind of shoes would she wear under her wedding dress? Those things are important. Who would she marry, right? What kind of job would she have? That's what's important here. Her future. And the fact that town owner cut that short. Brutally cut that short. So that's why we're here today. Tried to do all this by memory. It just doesn't happen. I've only been here 5 weeks now. It just doesn't happen. So the big thing here is this case is going to require a tough choice. We all know this. But the right thing is often the toughest choice. Now, we're taught as baby lawyers, we're supposed to get up here and bring all the fire and brimstone. And I can assure you, I can generate some fire and brimstone. But this isn't the case for it. I can't do any more or say anything more than what you've already seen on that screen. There's nothing I can do. There's no amount of fire and brimstone. There's no amount of jumping up and down and being like that could ever come close to what you've already seen. And I'm not even going to try. The evidence in this case, I'm not going to go through it because it is massive. But the big point of all of this evidence is this. If you start at the beginning, you know the facts. You heard the facts. When I came up here in opening, I told you I was going to put you as close as you could be to actually being there. And I did not lie. In this case, the evidence, you know, we talked about the worst of the worst and the cases that like this, cases that have planning or premeditation. Don't discount the fact that somebody decided to cover up the camera an hour before, 2 days in a row, on exactly the same road with 2 different locations with 2 little girls that were there. You saw the videos. My suspicion is those husband girls would have been first if the parents hadn't come out. They were first. Only when that didn't happen, Athena was second. So the evidence speaks for itself. You know, when we talk about planning, it's not all just pre-planning. It's the understanding of what you're going to do after. You know, for somebody that is having some form of catastrophe and inability to think or solve problems, out of all the random roads you could have chosen to go and sexually assault Athena, you drive right to it. You know the road, you know what's going on, you know the bumps, you know what's there. You don't pick some random road. You go to where you know it's secluded. That's planning. That's not somebody having a catastrophe and doesn't know where they are. Okay. So, but we know what he wants. We know because you heard it.
Judge, can we approach?
Can all the members of the jury see the board?
Courtroom's a little small. We know what he wants. And we know what's coming. Athena didn't know what was coming. He knows what's coming. That's not the eyes, that's not the look of someone who doesn't have a plan, doesn't have motivation, that hasn't thought this out, that hasn't fantasized about this. That's a little predator right there. Now, about the evidence, you know what happened. I'm not going to go over that anymore. There's a couple of things here that I think are important. I talked to you about DNA, and I think DNA is important. The only acceptable answer in this case is that Tanner Horner was excluded. That's the only acceptable answer. And that's not the answer we have, period. It's not that, well, we found some DNA, it was his, but, you know, maybe it's not enough. It's like when Dr. Ryan got up there and said, well, he's not a pedophile, it only happened one time. I beg to differ with that. Now, when we talk about the murder and what happened, you guys heard it. And I don't want anybody to ever forget what kind of warrior that little girl was. I don't know if anybody could have withstood what she withstood. Over and over again, I don't know anybody that could have withstood that. He can choke her, he can beat her, he can do it over and over again. But what do we know? We know the end result was right here. This is what it took. That's what it took to beat the life out of her. And I think that is key to this entire case. If the facts were not bad enough, if the sexual assault wasn't bad enough, the level of violence that one person can inflict on a child, including stomping them with a pair of shoes, and I wonder where that tread-like print came from anymore, because we know. Now, like I said, the defense is going to get up here after me. They're going to have some things to say as well. That's how it works. Okay. But what I anticipate is going to be a continuation of what you've already heard. His brain's broken somehow. He's got all these conditions. He's got all these ailments, all these things. He may have some or part of those. Apparently, according to Dr. Young, he even got low T. We even got the lead paint guy. Now, I don't know about the lead paint guy. I don't know if it works or not. I don't know if his little homemade zapper works or not. I honestly don't know. But what I do know is this. If you're going to come in here and try to convince us that somebody has all this lead in their system that's causing all the problems, why do you test anybody else? I mean, if you want us to believe you and all this stuff's going on, why don't you test the other people in the house? I don't think you want to know the answer. That's why you don't do it. So when we get up here, there's going to be a lot of talk about second chance. There's going to be a lot of talk about, maybe mercy. There's going to be a lot of talk about, his deficits and disabilities and things of that nature. But let's remember this. Everything they're telling you is an excuse. You know how I know it's an excuse? Because it took 6 or 7 experts and $500,000 to come up here and tell you it's not an excuse. That's how you know. If you've got to work that hard to try to prove that some kind of excuse, we know what the answer is. They're trying to get you to excuse his conduct. They're trying to get you to be less angry or less blameworthy on somebody for their conduct. I submit to you the truth and the facts and circumstances are what's most important. What he did is most important. Now, in looking at all of this, if you want mercy and you want somebody to consider giving you life when you gave no life here, when you gave no mercy here, what does it start with? I like to think it starts with the truth. I like to think it starts with not lying. I like it things to start with, if you have experts and you're being interviewed, not continuing to fabricate stories, not continuing to lie to you, not continue to try to cover, not continue to try to shade this or change the narrative. I think that the difference between wanting mercy and earning it are two separate things. So, now, what you've heard for the past 2 weeks is that the person driving that vehicle, you can see it right here, this person right here driving this vehicle. You've heard for the last 2 weeks about every form of ailment one could possibly have. And you heard about the last 2 weeks how that person can't cope, has stress, has the inability to do basically anything on the earth whatsoever. It essentially is incapable of doing anything. If you have any doubt about that, watch the 8 minutes of this video right here, from when he pulls in to Athena's driveway until he covers up the camera. If you have any doubt about somebody's ability to do and participate and be out in the world, watch that video. Because it's real clear. That's an individual who knows what they're doing. That's an individual who's hunting. That's an individual who's looking around and understanding what's around him. That is an individual who is absolutely lethal. That's an individual who targeted somebody, found somebody, tricked somebody, got him into the vehicle. You all saw when he took his hand and he put it over her mouth. He knows what's coming. You all saw right here. You all saw right here. Bungee cords. Trying to tie somebody up. You all saw that. This is not an individual that's on some form of stress-fueled catastrophe. And the cocaine nonsense, come on. Just another lie. Just another lie. But guess what? When you know that you've been caught covering up the camera, and you know you're being caught, what do? You come up with another lie that fits your narrative. That's what you do. And that's what's happened in this case. It's lie upon lie upon lie. This person driving this vehicle, cool, calm, and obviously lethal. So, are you going to believe what you hear up here, that this person is basically can't even get up in the morning? Or are you going to believe your eyes and what you see and hear? The only sentence in this case that gives justice to her is answering those two questions. Yes and no. Thank you, Judge.